Today, I'll be reading a selection from Mercy by D.H. Rodriguez, published by my friends at Working Class Publishing in 2012. January 5th, 2005. On the day Ghost was released from prison, he tried desperately to find his wife. He couldn't remember the last time he had talked to her, the dirty prison receiver ringing unanswered once a week into his ear. That is when he started writing letters. Thick, dull pencil marks scratching holes into transparent, state-issued lined paper as he pled with frustration for his wife to speak with him, send him word of the world outside his thick concrete walls. But Clement didn't know the words to express the deep crevasse that swallowed his soul with each passing day. His childish letters screamed with profanity and bled violence from each punctuation. The only way he knew how to communicate was through infantile tantrums and threats against himself and others. When his hands wrote the words, "I'll kill you if you ignore me, and then I'll kill myself," his heart cried the words, "I need you and can't live without you." But his letters were returned unread, and his calls remained unanswered. And after months of silence and isolation, on the day when instead of an unanswered ring, he received an automated message that the phone line was no longer in service, Clement's heart broke. His last line to the outside world was cut, and under the watchful gaze of rapists, pedophiles, and murderers, Clement wept. So when the gate swung wide and Clement's feet touched the free dirt on the other side of barbed wire, he had only one direction: to hunt for his beloved wife and teach her of the pain she had caused by abandoning him. On his way to the bus station, he walked past a liquor store, stopping to buy a small bottle to quench his thirst and ease his troubled soul. He pulled a few dollars from the heavy brown envelope handed to him at his release and transferred it to the shopkeeper. The small, dark-skinned man behind the counter didn't even bother to look up at him as Clement walked out of the store, clutching a brown paper sack around the neck of a small liquor bottle. The bus ticket to the desert cost Clement the remainder of his pittance, leaving only a few lonesome coins jingling in his ratted pocket. He sat quietly on the bus as it swayed from the force of a strong Inland Empire wind, sipping cautiously from his paper bag with nervous, shifting eyes. By the time the dull gray bus reached the top of the Cajon Pass, Clement's bottle had grown lighter in his hand, and his tranquility faded like the dying sunlight. First, he began talking loudly, eager to engage those around him in idle, absurd discussions about the nature of the world and his own unrelenting misfortune. But as the night darkened, so did Clement's disposition. "Hey, where are you guys going?" Clement turned around in his seat and shouted at the passengers behind him. A young, frightened couple looked up, startled at Clement's scarred, warped face. He smiled widely at them, hot air escaping through the huge gaps of missing teeth. Although the skin on the left side of his face had healed, the pain of the scar was unrelenting, and each time he smiled, he again knew the terror and agony of the day he last saw his wife. He was marked as a monster, unable to grow hair through thick pink skin. His left eye drooped, and his tongue would sometimes fail in his mouth, mangling his unskilled words into gibberish. "Nowhere," the young man replied softly, his hand reaching across to defend the young girl by his side. "Yeah," Clement responded with dejection. "Aren't we all?" He turned back around, shoulders wilted. The look on a person's face was more torturous than the scar itself, compounded by the frustration of knowing he could never undo what the prison's doctor had done to him, slicing away his skin with inept butcher's hands, and then sewing his face together unrecognizably with thick, crooked stitches. "You know what I mean, though?" He talked to the seats across the aisle. "You do everything you can to make some stupid bitch happy, and she just fucks you over when you need her the most." By the end of his sentence, he was shouting, spittle shooting against the seat back in front of him, sticking against the harsh blue fibers. There was no response from across the aisle. He looked up to see only empty seats, the sympathetic ear nothing more than his own desperate imagination. He thought he heard a loud laugh from the back of the bus, mocking his delusion. "Shut the fuck up," he yelled, at the dark, empty faces stretching back into the abyss. Clement pressed the side of his face against the window and strained to watch the dark desert landscape rush past the bus, the coolness of the glass easing the constant burning in his cheek. He clutched the empty liquor bottle tightly in his hand, clenching his fist around the paper and glass until his palm burned with pain. "I'm coming home, Mercy," he whispered into the glass, his fetid breath making a circle of fog on the cold window.